Hello, today we're going to be going over the Conquest here with you. We're going to be starting up front here with our tongue jack. Basically with our tongue jack, you're going to have this guy here, the switch here, that's going to raise it and lower it. This is how you level from front to back, but this is also how you get on and off the tow vehicle. I usually do like to recommend before you unhook from the tow vehicle, make sure you're level from side to side first. You can buy little stick-on levels if you want to stick on the coach. We usually just recommend a carpenter's level right inside the doorway. To figure out your side to side, you might have to lay some blocks down and roll onto them. Let that tow vehicle help you. Once you're good from side to side, then you unhook. Make sure the vehicle is pulled forward, and then you'll level front to back using this guy here. And then you will lower your stabilizer jacks. Those are on each corner of the camper, and that is a 3/4 socket. I recommend using the drill, makes it so much easier. Back behind here is going to be our propane tanks. You have two 20-pound tanks. Both of these guys have been filled, and a little bit was used basically just to test the system, make sure there was no leaks or anything along those lines. Then back behind, we got our regulator here. With the regulator, this guy here does tell you what tank you're using. So if you had both tanks on, once this tank is empty, it'll start pulling from this tank, but you would not know that until you come here and look at this little window here, and it would be red showing that this tank was empty. Then all you would do is just flip it over. We always do like to recommend just having one tank on at a time so you know when one of those tanks is empty. It's always weirdly ironic, the propane will go out at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Always.
Then back behind here is where our battery is located. It's just 24 series battery. It does have a little quick plug and play for solar panel. It's just one that basically just sits on the ground. We do have a little light here as well. All right, as we come around to the side, here's one of those stabilizer jacks I was just talking about, basically 3/4. And then here you got your front pass-through storage compartment. All right, as we move a little further along, next we're going to have our city water hookup. So with the city water hookup, it is always recommended you're going to have a pressure regulator at the water spigot first. From there, your options of an inline water filter and then a blue or white water drinking hose. From there, you'll hook up to the camper. You'll be ready to use the cold side right away. You do have to wait till the hot water heater fills until the water starts coming out of the hot side. We'll talk about that here in just a few moments. As you see, we got a couple other stickers labeled up here. You got your sewage holding tank, sewer outlet connection, and then the wastewater. These guys are normally down here, but basically right underneath here is where our dump is going to be. You got your black handle for the black tank, gray handle for the gray tank. You're always going to start with black first, open it, dump it. Once it's done, you would close that off, then open your gray and drain the gray. The gray is kind of soap water, just helps rinse out that sewer hose for you. You do have a sticker here that tells you to make sure you check your lug nuts before moving the vehicle. We do have new tires on these guys at this time, so these guys have been taken off the coach. It is recommended at 50 miles, and I will let you know this in person as well, that you do want to recheck these lug nuts, okay? It's just like it would on your own vehicle. Once you get the new tires put on your new vehicle, you always got to recheck those lug nuts at 50 miles. Other than that, though, it is always recommended that you check them at 50, 100, and 200 miles. I always like to recommend when you leave a campground, there's usually a bunch of turns you got to make when you get out of there, which kind of puts a little flex on those guys. Well, most of the time, first place we're stopping is the gas station to refuel to get home. While we're refueling, you're able to go ahead and check the lug nuts. You're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. I always recommend just anytime you leave a campground, it just doesn't hurt to check them. It just takes a quick second. The torques on these guys are going to end up being about 100 foot-pounds. So if you don't own a torque wrench, it is recommended. Harbor Freight does have a decent torque wrench that you can buy, and it's not overly expensive. You do also want to try to keep the tires topped off at their max PSI level. And let's see here what we got. These guys here are 50 PSI. Alright, so next we're going to have the water heater. So this is going to be gas option only. That is controlled from inside, and I'll show you that when we step inside. But whenever you're done camping, you always do want to take this guy out down below here. This is what they call your ano rod. All right, this is a 1 1/16 socket. Okay, you're going to pull this out. This guy starts out the size of a dime and will work itself down the size of a coat hanger. What it's basically doing is it's attracting the calcium and any other impurities in the water and attach that rod and not the tank because it is a steel tank. It is always recommended you do want to get all the water out of the coach when you're done camping. So you're always going to make sure you take this guy out, so then you're also able to inspect it at the same time. To do so, you would just lift this up to relieve the pressure, and then just take this guy out. Right now there is water in the unit because we did at least test the water system to make sure there were no leaks for you. Then over here is going to be our fresh water. This guy here is basically portable water, so if you go to a campsite that doesn't provide a water spigot for you, you're going to stop somewhere along that campground because somewhere they're going to have some water spigots set up to where you're able to fill the fresh water tank. You can usually put about a third of water in here if you're going to be traveling, in case you're wanting to use the restroom instead of the rest areas. But just know, when you're adding that water, that's extra weight. It's like 8 point something gallons, or 8 something pounds per gallon. So this has a 55-gallon fresh water tank on there. You can just do the numbers. There's quite a bit. There's actually a sticker inside that actually tells you it's like an extra 500 and something pounds you could be hauling. I always just recommend put a third of water in there if you're traveling and need to use the restroom. Then you got your cable or satellite hook up here. Down below, this little guy right here is where our fresh water drain is. Basically, you're just going to turn that and we're going to start draining the fresh water. Like I said, there was water in the system. We tested both the fresh water with the water pump and the city water hookup. I should have probably held off for a couple seconds to do that. Basically, inside this area here is where your water pump is located, but they also do have an access connection port there for winterizing the coach. I will tell you though, I did not see the hoses for this, so you may have to purchase new winterization line hoses for that. This guy here is going to be your 30 amp power cord. Basically just feeds right into the coach, and then it'll sit right here and then just shuts and locks. This guy is roughly about 25 feet roughly. It is free wired for an observational backup camera. We do have the spare tire here as well. You do have another storage compartment on this side. This is going to be your 751 key. I will show you your keys here in just a moment. Basically all your compartments are going to be a 751 key. Next we have the furnace port. It is recommended you don't put nothing in front of this or block this. Basically your furnace needs to be able to breathe. We do usually recommend getting mud dauber screens to put over these. Kind of helps keep mud daubers and wasp out of there that can cause issues with the furnace. When that happens, then generally the furnace has got to get pulled out, get bench tested, so we can try to figure out what's wrong with that. And right now, anywhere you go, shop labor rates are not cheap. You do have 2 outside speakers as well. This guy here is going to be your hood range, or for the vent. Basically, you just pop that open, and then whenever you turn the fan on, it'll automatically open it up. Whenever you're going to travel, just push that and lock it closed. It seals it in. You are able to hook a TV up outside, right here with this guy, and you got your plug so you can plug it in. Right down below here is where our low points are located. Basically, what these guys are, these are the lowest points to the water lines in the coach. So once again, when you're done camping, we're trying to get all that water out. If you take these caps off, open up a faucet, usually the furthest faucet, so probably the bathroom sink usually, and as you drive home, that's going to help push any of that excess water out of those lines for you, so you won't have any water that was left behind that could potentially start smelling like the rotten eggs or that sulfury kind of smell and get stagnant or bad. When that happens, then generally you got to sanitize your coach, and the best way to do that is you would put a 1/4 cup of bleach inside that fresh water port, fill it to about 1/3, 2/3 of water, run it through everything in the system, and then let it sit for a couple hours. Then from there, you're going to drain the fresh water tank. You can hook up your city water to flush out the lines. We're going to come back and talk about our steps in just a second. Then you got your other side of your pass-through compartment over here. Your entry door here does have a lock to secure it. Basically, this here is going to what engages your deadbolt lock on the door when you're inside the coach. This is your handle where you pull to close the door when you're going inside. This is the handle so you can open the door. Right side here is where I got our keys. Your purple key is going to be your entry door, both the deadbolt and the door handle lock. And then your silver key is that 751 key for all your compartment locks. So next we're going to have our steps. You do always have to make sure that this door is fully open. You don't have to have it locked in, but you do have to make sure this door is fully open when you go to pull these steps down. Okay, the reason why is because if it's not, this guy here, our little locking guy, will catch the door, can cause damage. These guys here, so you can adjust the feet. And this here will unlock the steps and bring them down. One thing you always must make note is when you bring these guys down, you do want to make sure these steps are as flat with the threshold as possible. Too much of an elevation can cause damage to both the doors, makes it hard to open or close them, things along that nature. All right, as we step inside, right when we step inside the door, right here to our left is going to be our fire extinguisher. And then our controls here, we're going to have our awning to bring it in and out. It is quite breezy today. We have some strong gust winds, so I cannot open this up to show you guys this. But I did open and test this guy. Okay, the awning is a little dirty underneath. What I always like to recommend though is just go to Dollar Tree and buy yourself Awesome. Awesome works great for cleaning both the camper and the awning canvas, and it doesn't damage it. Do not use bleach on your awning canvas, okay? It will start to give it that little brownish, like it's, like you hit some black clothes where it starts to fade it and give it that bleach, that bleach look. That's what it will start doing to the canvas.
He is correct. It is great.
So the next we're going to have our switches here. Our first switch is going to be for our living room light area here. And then our other switch was for, I just seen it. Oh, our little ambiance lights above. And then our other ones are going to be for outside. One is going to be for your awning lights, and your other one is your orange porch light. All right. As we come over here, there's a switch located right behind here. That's going to be for the bedroom light area. And then this guy here will unsecure, and it secures to this guy right here, so you can close off the bedroom area. You do have a 110 on each side and USB hookups for being able to charge your phone. You do got the closet space on each side as well. Storage up above, individual reader night light or individual reader lights. We do have our little packet of manuals that the previous owner did leave in here. I'm pretty positive that all of the manuals probably will not be in there. If there's something that you're trying to look for or try to have a little better information on, you're not really sure, I do just recommend trying to Google what that item is, and usually you can get a manual for those online. Just makes it real nice and simple. So this one does kind of baffle me, and I'll just let you know now. So they put the TV in here. The thing of it is, there is no hookup for the TV antenna in the bedroom area. Basically what they did is they just probably had a DVD player just sat here because it was on an HDMI port, and they would just watch DVDs in here. Basically though, if you wanted to, you can remove the bracket and you can move the TV over to the antenna booster area, and I will show you guys that here in just a moment. But the remote is located right here for that, and it's actually one of the nice smart Vizio TVs. So if you have it hooked up to the internet, you're able to, Netflix, Prime, Disney, Hulu. It's even got Redbox because Redbox has gone digital, which is kind of neat. So then down below is going to be your fire exit window in case of an emergency. If you couldn't make your way to the door, they do recommend that you would pull your screen out, basically like so. And then this here is on a hinge, so the whole window would fling open so you could get out if you needed to. And I'll get that put back on here after our virtual here. All right, so next we're going to have our little control panel. Basically what this guy does is just monitors your battery and your tank statuses. So, we're plugged in, so it's going to be reading full because it's charging the battery like it should. We're emptying that fresh water tank, but we still have some in there. Our black tank should have a little bit of water in there. We're reading a little empty, so that's okay. That means our cleaner, the tank was reading actually 1/3 when I got in here, so I did put a cleaning packet in it. Added some more water. It looks like it's done its job because our sensors is now not reading, or it's reading empty like it should. And then we have a little bit of water in that gray tank from testing the water system. This guy here is the water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're using the fresh water tank. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need that guy. Then down below is going to be our thermostat. When you first turn this guy on, it'll show you the fan, and then you always want to leave this in auto. Okay, if you have this fan set in high or low, and you go to turn your furnace on, the fan on the air conditioner will also come on. Okay, so always make sure that this is an auto whenever you're going to set your for the air conditioner or the furnace. So if this was in high or low and we swapped it over to the air conditioner, it would just continuously run on that low or high fan speed, and it'll just continue to cool. It doesn't matter what you have the thermostat set to, it's just going to continuously run. And as you see, there's a snowflake showing us the air conditioner, and then with the auto, the air conditioner is automatically going to shut on and off. And then after that, we got our furnace, which shows you a little wavy line, like a little heat wave. And then once again, you can adjust the temperatures with these guys. One thing to note though is you do not have to really smash push these buttons. They just got a little piece of foam insert that touches the sensors on the back side of this. When you jam those buttons, that foam piece gets damaged, and then over time you'll try to turn it up, and it just gets stuck, and it'll just shoot all the way to the top, which I believe it maxes out at 90. Or if you push down, it'll go all the way down to its lowest setting as well. So try not to jam push those buttons. All right, behind this door here is going to be our bathroom. Basically, we got our GFCIs located there, so if some of our outlets in the coach are not working, check and make sure this guy has not been tripped. In here, we're going to have the toilet. You would lightly press on the pedestal to add water so you can do your business, and then all the way down is going to flush. We had a little bit of water still in their system there. You always do want to leave some kind of liquid in here. I usually would like to recommend, it never hurts to have maybe a jug of antifreeze. The reason why is if you leave water in this, once again, it's going to get stagnant or bad, and it can actually start staining the toilet. So it wouldn't hurt to kind of maybe usually have the winterization fluid. And the nice thing about that also is that it's kind of slick and it's got a slippery substance to it, so it helps lubricate those seal as well. If that seal gets dry rotted or brittle, it'll start allowing the smell to come through, and we just don't want that. We do have our light switch for the bathroom right here. Our fan, you just lift that up, and then you push your button. Sorry, I failed at cleaning your camper. I did miss that. I apologize. But then you got your tub / shower in here. For the shower part, you just get your water set, and then you're just going to pull this guy up for the shower. This here is just an access panel for the shower. Down below is going to be our carbon monoxide and LP detector. Basically, it is always recommended you test this guy every 9 to 14 days. I am going to go ahead and push this button right here, and we're going to perform a test. It just takes seconds to do. Then it should give us a... Oh, no, it goes back to green. Different model. My apologies. But basically, as you see, that's how long... It just takes seconds to test that. You always do want to make sure that guy is properly working. If that goes off, it's usually sensing either LP, gas, or carbon monoxide in the coach. So you do always want to take the emergency precautions. If that goes off, first person out the door is turning off the canisters at the tanks. Okay, you want to shut those off. The second person out is trying to, of course, get everybody out. Kids, animals, even that fish bowl with the fish Steve in it. But then you want to try to be able to open a couple of windows as you're getting out. Do not open and turn on the fan. We're not trying to create a spark. From there, we're getting 50 feet away for about 15 minutes. Going to come back inside. I'm going to tell you now, the first place you always want to check is the stove. The reason why is a lot of times someone can just be leaning and they can just be sliding around and just turn knobs. Okay, some butts can turn knobs, so just always be mindful of that, okay? We're going to come back and talk about stove a little bit more in just a moment. All right, right underneath our fridge is where our fuse panel box is located. So anything that needs sure power or the 30 amp cord to be plugged in to have power is all going to be on the breakers, and they got everything labeled for you. Everything that runs off your battery runs off fuses, and once again, everything is labeled for you as well. All right, so with our fridge, it is a 12-volt fridge. So always be mindful that this guy can drain your battery if you're not plugged in. Okay? It is just always pulling from your battery. You can adjust the freezer setting up top as well. But then down below is where you would set for the fridge. When you first turn it on, I always like to recommend to put it on 4 or 5 to get it good, nice and cold. It usually will get below freezing as well, but once you open the door, start putting stuff in it, you're going to lose a lot of that coolness. They generally say that it takes 1 hour to make up for the 1 degree that is lost out of this. So every second we're leaving this door open, Generally, you're losing 1 degree. So start factoring hours. But basically, you press and hold this for 10 seconds to turn the fridge off. Okay? So if your charge line is not hooked up on the tow vehicle, it's not charging that battery for you as you're going down the road, this will drain your battery by the time you get to a campground if you're going on a far distance drive. I always like to recommend if you get like some couple Hawaiian jugs or gallon milk jugs, kind of fill them up 3/4 of the way, freeze them. Okay? You put those in the center, pack your food around it. Okay? This guy's going to act like a cooler. Okay? So while it's also getting cold, that block of ice is going to help cool it down faster, but it's also going to help keep your food cold as you're going down the road also. Then we got our little closet area and storage here. We do have this panel taken off down below, basically to show you your bypass for the water heater. That is going to be a valve up on top and on the bottom. All you do is just turn these guys like so, where it goes in line with this, so antifreeze would not go into the water tank. And then like this, we're going to allow that water to come in. Next, we got our bench area here. This guy does actually fold up for an additional bed as well, but this guy does actually have to be folded up and put in that bed-like position for travel. Okay, underneath is some Velcro strips. Oh, nope. Okay, my apologies. It'll sit in there, and then the bench sheets help hold it locked into place so it doesn't fly or fall over or anything along those lines.
But it has to be folded down before you bring the slide in?
Correct. But there is no slide.
Oh, gotcha. Folded down for travel.
Correct. Folded down for travel.
So nothing happens.
We're just going to fold these guys up, just like so. This is where it usually gets kind of fun and tricky all at the same time. Basically, it's going to sit right there. If it tries to slide forward, our bench seats here is going to catch it and stop it. Okay. This area here is where our TV antenna booster was located. So if you decided to bring the TV over, this is already plugged into the back of the radio so you can watch DVDs. If you're trying to use a campground cable with that port I showed you outside on the back of the unit, you do have to turn that off, okay? If this is on, it will not attract that cable signal because it's considered the antenna is the primary source. So we got to shut that source off. Your radio does come with 2 remotes. They do have a zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 is going to be your inside speakers. Zone 2 is your outside speakers. You're able to preset a few channels, and this is how you would change your radio station. And then once again, it's a CD/DVD player. It does not play Blu-rays. We got our hood range where we have a light that I gotta go get for you guys, and then our fan. Got the microwave up top. With the microwave, I basically just say they're pretty self-explanatory. I would always at least recommend maybe setting a time. Got a little haze from my cleaner on there. Set the time. You guys go out, you come back, you see the time's not set anymore. That means there was a power failure at your camp. You want to look and see if it was from the campsite itself or from the electric company. Okay, that can be very important. Down below is going to be the stove. With this, it is not a glass stovetop, so you do have to lift this every time when you go to cook. But then basically you would turn this guy here, and then you would spark it till it lights. I don't have the propane on right now, so it is not going to fire for us. This one on the far side is for the oven. Once again, you would turn to this flame icon. You're going to push and hold that in while it spark ignites. Once it's lit, you hold it for 5 to 7 seconds, then you can set your temperature. And then this guy here on the end just provides you a nice, pretty little blue ambiance light, and it is also a light for the oven. This guy here is where you're going to control your water heater. Once again, it's gas only, so you just turn this switch on. When you turn it on, this guy's going to stay lit until it fires on propane. Okay, once it fires on propane, that light will shut off. it's going to stay on because the propane ain't going. Then we got our kitchen sink. And then from there, we have basically made our way back to the door. Hopefully this video is knowledgeable and informational for you guys. If you guys do have questions, please feel free to call us, and we will do our best to answer those questions for you over the phone. Thank you and have a wonderful day.